Welcome to this special edition of the Inspiring Women in CX podcast, a series dedicated to real talk conversations between women in customer experience and technology. This season, we're spotlighting the winners of the Inspiring Women in CX Awards 2025, trailblazing women transforming customer and employee experience around the globe. Spanning industries, regions, and roles, their stories are powerful proof that when women lead, transformational change happens. You'll hear firsthand as they share their journeys, insights, and vision for a future of CX. I'm your host, Claire Muscat, and in today's episode, we're celebrating our Innovation Award winner and her work driving cutting-edge CX solutions that streamline processes, amplify customer insights, and enable teams to focus on what really matters. With 8 years' experience in the insurance industry, she leads the Voice of the Customer program at Selective Insurance, directing key surveys, championing employee engagement, and using innovative approaches to transform how insights drive action. Allow me to introduce you to today's inspiring guest, Shannon Knowlton. Hey Shannon, how are you?
Good, Claire. How are you?
Well, thank you. I'm very excited to have you here on the very special series of the Inspiring Women in CX Award Winners podcast. So I'm going to start with a huge congratulations, Shannon. How did it feel to win the 2025 Innovation Award?
Thank you so much. To be nominated alone was really exciting. I didn't expect to win. All the other finalists were so impressive. They have amazing resumes, accomplishments, backgrounds, everything. So I really didn't think that I stood a chance against all of them. So that's why it was such a surprise and honor being nominated. It's just one of those moments that you're just really grateful for, to just be included and be in the same company as some of those people. And then to actually win was surreal. So I'm still in shock, and I'm still taking it all in.
Bless you. And in your LinkedIn post announcement, you mentioned that you realised you've got a bit of a tendency to minimise your own accomplishments. And it sounds like when you were thinking about this awards process, being a finalist, you thought you didn't stand a chance, which was crazy because your entry was absolutely amazing. Can you tell us a little bit more about why you felt that is, and what maybe how the awards process has helped you think a bit more about celebrating your accomplishments?
So I'm not a big fan of being the center of attention. I hated and dreaded my own bridal shower, baby showers, all of that. I don't enjoy it. It's definitely not something that's in my comfort zone. And with work stuff and professional accomplishments, it's probably a little bit of imposter syndrome plays into it. I've always had a bit of a tendency to downplay some of my own accomplishments. This year, though, in particular, I decided to make a conscious effort to kind of push past that. I've had a few big milestones. I earned my master's degree in CX management from Michigan State University this year. I had an opportunity earlier this year to speak on a panel for the first time at a conference. And so after all that, I realized it was time to start owning those moments and sharing them more openly with my network. So the nomination for the Women in CX Innovation Award came right in the middle of all of that. So when I was trying to shift everything, it fell right there perfectly in place. And I figured, what better way to lean into it and lean into the discomfort than to celebrate the work I've done. So the whole process really helped me reflect on how important it is to just acknowledge and embrace your impact, especially as a woman, even if it feels a little uncomfortable. And it did, but I did get a lot of traction on my posts, so that's good, and a little bit of a lesson to just post the things because people will read them, comment on them, engage with them.
Yeah, and it's a lovely feeling, isn't it, when people maybe you're not seeing for a long time celebrate you and celebrate your achievements. But I read the comments, and it was definitely no surprise to anyone else. But it sounds like this award was really just the icing of the cake of a really wonderful year for you. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
thank
So
you.
can you tell us a little bit more about your current role and what you believe the most important skills are and the behaviours are actually for a VOC and more broadly CX leader?
Course. So in my role as a voice of the customer manager, I make sure that our customer feedback isn't just collected, that it's driving real change across our business. I work closely with different teams to surface the insights, spot the different patterns, and help prioritize some of the improvements that really are going to matter to our customers. And when I think about the most important skills and behaviors for a VOC leader or a CX leader, there's three that stand out. Curiosity, definitely. You need to have a genuine interest in what your customers are saying and why, and digging deeper to uncover those root causes behind the feedback. Empathy, it's about more than just the data, it's understanding that the human experience behind those numbers. and storytelling. You have to translate complex feedback into clear, compelling narratives that are going to inspire some change across the organization. And especially for people who are not in the CX space, you need to make sure that you're telling that story in a way that resonates with senior leaders or other stakeholders. And on top of that, just being collaborative and I would say adaptable is crucial. You're often the one that has to provide the link between different teams and building the trust, and you have to be able to build those relationships and be able to collaborate because you can't do it alone. I can get CX data, but I have to understand the operational stuff too, and I can't do that by myself. So I need to be open to collaboration and building relationships across the organization.
Yeah, and I think that really stood out in your entry as well. VOC manager, but you're not just managing the customer insights, you're really taking ownership in driving action across the business and creating change as a result of those insights. And I think
Mhm.
it's wonderful to have that as a really great example, and for you to be winning this award. I agree with you. Absolutely nailed the skills and behaviours needed for VOC and CX leaders. So I was wondering, like, who inspires you personally, both in and beyond your role in CX?
Oh, I'm inspired every day, really, by the people that I work with, both my immediate team and the wider department that I work in. It's definitely a really collaborative environment where I'm just constantly learning from everyone around me on how they approach problems, how they're challenging assumptions, bringing creative ideas to the table. And our leadership really encourages thinking outside the box, which really fuels, I think, innovation across our whole team.
Mm.
So that mindset has really it's shaped me a lot, especially as I've stepped into more leadership responsibilities. I've also drawn inspiration from my master's program at Michigan State, where my classmates they had such diverse backgrounds, industries, and pushed me to think a little bit differently in how to tackle my challenges. It's easy to get, because I work in the insurance space, it's easy to look at a problem as an insurance problem instead of stepping back and looking at it from a full customer lens, not just the insurance space. So whether it was at work or in school, the people who inspire me most are really the ones that are more curious, empathetic, and just willing to challenge the status quo a little bit. Those are qualities that I really try to bring to my own work every day.
That sounds like an awesome place to work. And yeah, like
Yeah,
you've
it's a
had some
great
really
team.
great role models and a great team to work with. So yeah, I'm really, really pleased to hear about that. But I think what you're really kind of touching on there is culture, isn't it? The organizational culture that
Yeah.
enables us to really deliver innovation, change, great customer experience. What you're talking about there, that kind of openness, collaborative attitude, the willingness to want to work together cross functionally and create change.
Yeah.
For those of us who get stuck in roles where that's not present, it's a hell of a lot harder, isn't it? So,
It is. It's a lot harder. It makes a huge difference when you work with such a collaborative team and supportive team. I couldn't imagine being as successful in my work without a team like that, honestly. It wouldn't be possible.
well, they sound awesome. Big shout out to that team. Sorry to interrupt your listening, but I just wanted to take a moment to tell you a little bit more about Wix. We're the world's first online membership community for women in customer experience. Our mission is clear, and that's to unleash the power of women to lead the future of human-centered business. Working in CX can feel lonely at times. We're often single-handedly trying to change the way organisations think and behave about customers. On our paid platform, you can discover a vibrant tribe of fellow female professionals, find support from knowledgeable peers, learn best practices from experts and practitioners, and be inspired to up your game through leading edge CX and EX thinking. If you feel like you aren't making enough progress with your CX objectives, are unsure about what your next move looks like, or are struggling to achieve your career ambitions, you're not alone. To learn more about membership, see how women are progressing personally and professionally with the support of the #1 community in CX, you can apply to join us today by visiting www.womenincx.community/membership. I really hope I get to see you there soon. So, just thinking about your nomination and your entry specifically, the judges were particularly impressed by you introducing Gen AI Copilot agents to streamline the monthly VOC analysis process. You cut hundreds of hours of manual work and enabled a lot more time for stakeholder engagement, which sounds like was the key in the successes that you've had. Can you tell us a little bit more about that work and the difference that it made?
Yeah, absolutely. So my monthly VOC analysis, it was a very manual process. I would spend hours pulling data, identifying themes, formatting the insights, and it got the job done, but it left very little time for any strategic conversations I wanted to focus on. I was literally just grabbing the data, formatting the data, I covering, and then delivering. I wasn't adding any additional value, really, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to team up with a colleague of mine to develop a Gen AI Copilot agent that automated some of the repetitive tasks, like summarizing the feedback, grouping the themes, while still preserving that human judgment where it
Mm-hmm.
counts, because AI hallucinates sometimes, so you can't just
Yes.
trust it and pass the information
Mm.
along. So we've been refining it over several months, and the accuracy has been really impressive. And even within the refinement, the agent has learned some of my behaviors, which is creepy in a good way. It learned the questions I tend to go back to, and now it includes some of that information in the analysis already. So the biggest impact has really been, of course, the time saved, which
Mm.
has allowed me to engage a little bit more with my stakeholders and explore some of the root causes in more detail. So it's opened up space for more meaningful research and better decision making. And honestly, this project was just a really great example of how innovation and collaboration can really boost and elevate the
Mm.
quality of your work. It's a really good use case for AI in general, not as a replacement, but as a tool to free up time for higher value efforts. Once you shift your mindset to see that AI is an enabler, it becomes, a little bit easier to embrace the experiment with it. So I think being able to use it as a tool to just improve the quality of work I was doing was key, not just to get it done quicker and move on to the next thing, but
Yeah.
get the manual tasks out of the way and then spend time with my stakeholders to better understand what the customers were saying.
Yeah, and add more value, as you said, in the process. Can you tell me a little bit more about like the process that you went through, like you said, about kind of training it to be a really great agent to work on your behalf and support you? How did you avoid those hallucinations? Was there any kind of tips that you could share? I know a lot of people are working on this at the moment, trying to figure out how AI can help out, like keeping that human in the loop approach to things. Is there anything that you'd say anyone who's listening and trying to do that, what the secret might be?
Well, for us, when we were building the agent, we learned with Copilot specifically to be very specific in the instructions.
Mm,
And it works really well, even when you're providing it with a format that you want your output to come in. So
mm,
we showed it that we would like the output to come in the form of some tables and then bulleted
mm,
information underneath. If it has a
mm,
good idea what the template is that you want it to use, it's a little bit easier for it to pop the information in. Through some trial and error, we learned, because my data, I export it into Excel. So we learned that it doesn't like raw Excel data as much as it likes tables. So
oh,
if you convert your data to a table, it can read the columns and the rows a little bit more clearly. So we
mm,
learned that through a lot of trial and error. And then just learn to be patient with it. If you're messing around with it and you're playing with it and you're making updates to the rules, it's going
mm,
to take a little while for it to catch up with itself. So when we
mm,
were testing it, we would make updates in the morning and then test in the afternoon just to give it a couple hours to just reset itself and understand what we were asking. And then it's AI, it's the robot, so you have to check it. Usually I would check my data before I would upload it, so I understood
mm,
how many individual lines of feedback I had, how many open-ended responses, and I would usually ask it to reiterate that to me. So when you're giving me the
mm.
feedback, tell me how many records there are, how many open-ended responses, so that way I would have a good idea if it was actually reading the correct file or not.
Oh, that is a really simple but effective tip, isn't it? To ask
Hmm.
it again, what did I gave you this data? Tell me what that data was based on. And it can
Yeah,
read it
yeah.
back to you as you gave it. That's yeah, that's a really good one.
Mhm.
So moving on to thinking a bit more about some of the challenges you might have faced, and I'm thinking specifically that innovating in traditionally risk-averse sectors like insurance really isn't easy at all. So can you share a little bit more about how you overcame this and what advice you give to other CX professionals on how to lead CX innovation?
Yeah, innovation in insurance is definitely it does require a thoughtful approach, I'll say. The industry is definitely risk aware. I would say that means that we're just more strategic and intentional about how we're
Mm,
introducing change, especially when it comes to customer experience.
mm,
So at Selective, there is a commitment to building a culture of innovation and delivering a great customer experience. So what I've found is the purposeful innovation, those solutions, the clear problems that you're trying to solve, creating value for customers and agents. That's usually what's embraced the most. It's not about tracing the trends so much, it's about making meaningful improvements.
Mm.
And when I proposed using the generative AI to streamline the VOC analysis, I didn't lead with the technology I was using, I led with the problem. So I
Mm.
framed the business case around the time that we're spending on the manual task and then the opportunities that would be there if we were to shift the time towards deeper insights and stakeholder engagement. So that framing in this space definitely helped to get the support I needed to jump in with
Yeah.
that. And it made it clear that the innovation was aligned with our goals a little bit more. So my advice for other six professionals would be just start with the why and
Mm.
understanding the problem a little bit more deeply before you build a clear case. And then once you have that information, you can build that case for how your solution's gonna drive value and collaborate early and often. If you socialize the problem and you get the buy-in ahead of time, it makes it a lot easier.
Nice, nice. Very sound advice indeed. And where do you think CX innovation is heading next? And how do you plan to stay ahead of the curve?
Yeah, that's a really great question and something that I, especially since winning the award, have been reflecting on a lot more. While
Mm.
I don't, of course, have a crystal clear vision of what exactly CX is going to look like as far as innovation goes
Mm.
and where it's headed next, probably because the imposter syndrome. I won't allow myself to pretend like I have any clue.
And then give it a go.
I'm pretty certain though that staying connected with the community is probably
Mm.
most essential. I'm active in professional networks like Women in CX and others, and I find that the readings that come along with that, attending the different events, and just engaging with in the conversations help me
Mm.
kind of stay involved in what emerging trends might be out there.
Mm.
Mentorship, I would also
Mm.
say, plays a big role in staying ahead, both traditional mentorship from experienced leaders and then peer-based mentorship,
Mm.
especially now. You can learn something valuable from everyone, whether it's a
Agree.
seasoned expert, a colleague that has similar issues. Those relationships really help me gain a fresh perspective. I have a
Mm.
lot of people I look at as a mentor, and some are more seasoned, and some are the exact same level as me, but we're in a different industry.
Yeah,
So we're getting the same issues, but we're tackling them different.
differently.
And
Mm.
I think you learn a lot from that. And of course, networking, regular conversations with people outside your organization. That's really where you're going to find out what things are going on outside of your space. I think it's
Mm.
very easy in your world and your role to have your
Yeah,
head down working on your stuff. You're not thinking outside, but a lot's happening out there. So staying
yeah,
out there and networking outside of your organization, I think, is key.
yeah. Avoiding getting insular. Definitely. That was a very good one.
Hmm. Yeah.
I remember I spent 5 years in retail, and it definitely was the temptation to just look at the retailers, not what was happening beyond retail. And a lot of the
Yeah.
inspiration that gave us the most interesting concepts actually came from outside of what everybody else was doing. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's it about innovation, isn't it? Not to be truly the first to do something is rare, but it really
Hmm.
does take understanding, I think, the problem to solve and then coming up with a response that no one else has yet. That is what
Yeah.
innovation is really about, isn't it? So
Exactly.
finally, Shannon, what advice would you give to other aspiring innovators in customer experience?
I mean, of course, I don't have, all the answers, but what I've learned about innovation in CX is just stay curious and open-minded. It's often the small insights or better questions that lead to the real breakthroughs, not
Mm.
just the big ideas. Because even what I did, I didn't think, which is why I was probably so surprised to be nominated. I didn't feel like it was anything earth-shattering. I just saw
Mm.
a process that could be improved, and I
Mm.
tried to improve it. So really for me, innovation just grows when you expose yourself to those different perspectives. So even the networking and all that, you have to stay exposed to all those things. Connecting with your peers, mentors, community, anyone who's going to challenge your thinking and introduce fresh ideas is always good, I think, especially in experience management. A lot of what we need to do is try to break out of the that's the way we've always done it mentality because customers evolve, people change, and you can't do
Mm.
things the way you've always done them because customer expectations change all the time. And honestly, most importantly, to just don't be afraid to push yourself outside your comfort zone. Innovation rarely happens there. And some of my best growth moments this year came from leading into the discomfort. And whether it
Mm.
was a new approach to something, speaking up, launching something a little unfamiliar, any of that stuff just helps you build confidence and momentum. So I feel like just stepping out of your comfort zone is really the most important thing.
That's such sound advice. And yeah, beating that imposter syndrome voice that's telling you to hold
Hmm.
back. Yeah, it's something we've all got to continuously work
Yeah.
to to challenge. But I was just thinking, just to reiterate, like, why you won this award though was, you didn't go and buy an off-the-shelf product of an AI co-pilot to do this analysis for you. You went back into the business and worked with a colleague to build something for yourself, and that is innovation, and that is impressive. And I don't know whether you added this to the business case, but that might be something that your service providers would charge a hell of a lot of money for as a skill set. And I think, that taking that internal approach to designing and building something to solve that problem, that to me is why you won this award. So congratulations again, Shannon.
Thank you.
I'm very excited to see what you do next. I've heard that you're moving into a new role soon.
I am moving into a new role soon. I'm still staying in the insurance space. I just can't get away, but I'm transitioning from VOC management more into journey mapping and journey ownership.
Journey management. Oh, well, that's super exciting. So thank you so much for your time today, Shannon. It's been wonderful to talk to you. And hopefully we'll see you back next year for the 2026 awards.
I hope so.
Take care. Bye for now.
Bye, Claire.
Thanks for listening to the Inspiring Women in CX Award Winners podcast with me, Claire Muscat. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review, share your thoughts, or pass it along to your network. It really helps us to grow and amplify the voices of women working in CX and technology. And if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe. The bigger our community, the greater the impact we can make together. That's all for now. See you next time.